What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilkin. I want to come back and talk a little bit about Fulland of Water and Light in a little bit more detail, because when we got our initial word on this game, my thought and a lot of people's thought, all we heard was it was going to be a console game. So we're thinking, when you just say console, my brain immediately goes, boom, PS5, Xbox, maybe Switch. Now we find out that it looks like it's a Switch exclusive game, and when we look at the gameplay, it kind of makes sense. Now, I want to address a couple things right out of the gate, some comments I saw on this before. People are excited. Somebody even said that they were going to buy a Switch just for this game. Let me be very, very clear, that is a poor financial decision right now, with rare exception. But I'll get to those exceptions in a moment, and I think, honestly, if you listen to my exceptions, you could come out of this on the north side of this financially. However, if you want to play the game and you don't have a Switch, here's the things you need to know. A Switch 2 is in the works, and they are going to announce one before the end of their fiscal year. Now, fiscal year for Nintendo is basically April to March. So what they're saying is sometime by the end of March, they will announce the Switch 2, and a lot of industry analysts are saying that this thing is probably coming early in 2025, maybe as early as April in their 2025 fiscal year, like Q1 of their fiscal year. So if you're buying a Switch now, if you're spending, $250, you're really talking, honestly, game and everything, this is a $400 investment, right? Because you're not just going to buy this game, you're going to buy another game, you're going to buy an extra, an extra controller or something like that to play with friends. You're talking minimum $300 to $400 investment for one game. I don't think that's hugely wise, but I think here's a way you can cover your costs. We'll get to that in a second, though. I keep teasing that, but I have a great plan for you guys, and trust me, it's stupid, but it's awesome. So, buying a new console for this is not a great idea, number one. Number two, we're going to cover the game here. Most of the story will probably wind up being on YouTube within a matter of days, between me and some of the other content creators that are going to be covering this. It's a side-scrolling RPG, and it honestly looks very simplistic. This really looks like it's not going to be like, it's like not Unreal Engine or anything like that. This is not the game that we have been wanting for years now. This is just kind of a stopgap measure, and it looks, honestly, when they initially announced Bushiroad was going to be doing this is kind of what we feared was going to happen. It's going to be a very simplistic game. Now, here's the deal. Here's where those of you that are saying, I'm going to go buy a Switch just for this game, where you could probably come out on the north side of this. And that is very simply put, there are a lot of very collectible Nintendo Switches out there. If you live alone or you've got a responsible roommate or whatever, you're not someone like me as kids, who play the game constantly and drop it and all kinds of stuff. Go out and see if you can find a cheap but collectible copy. I'm mostly really thinking about like the Zelda release and things like that, of like special edition Switches. And here's what you can do. Keep the box in immaculate shape. Store it somewhere where it's going to be very viable. For those of you guys that follow me on Twitter, you saw the other day that I have found a bunch of my Switch boxes, my old GameCube boxes. I even have my original box for my Atari I bought recently. Games systems in boxes, especially very collectible special editions of them, tend to go for tons and tons and tons of money later on down the road. In about 10 years, somebody's going to want that console, and they're going to be willing to pay, $1,000+ for a very collectible one. Right now, I'm in the market for an original U.S. release of Neo Geo in the gold box. And when I initially bought mine, I paid $400 after market for it. It was stolen, and now those systems, I want to say, are north of $2,000. So, one day we'll be there. One day. Keep subscribing. One day I'll be there. And in fact, when I bought my Atari, because I had Atari as a kid, and obviously nobody had the boxes for those things, so finding one in a box is exceptionally rare. When I bought mine, it was at the bottom of the market. I paid about $90. Well, they were asking $90. I really paid about $80 for the console. I bought a bunch of extras with it too, and plus it's a shop that knows me really well. But nevertheless, spending $80 on that, they offered to buy it back for me last week for $200. Which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but that's over double what I paid them for it. So if you go right now and you're able to find, let's say, a the recent Zelda Switch release, and you're able to get it at a market value of what, $300. Hold on to that for 5, 6, 7 years. You'll double your money, most likely, almost assuredly. And you'll be able to play your game. You'll be able to do the Switch. Buddy of mine, Goshen's Games, we talked about this a while back. Whenever he does one of these, he hoards away 2, if not 3 or 4 of these consoles. And that way, in a few years, when it's at the top of the market or is at least like rising in popularity, he could sell his off. And then his consoles are essentially all free because he's made all of his profit on those extra ones that he's squirreled away. So if you honestly are looking at buying a console just to play this game, be smart, buy a collector's edition, keep it in immaculate shape, store it away. I'll be honest with you guys. I play my Switch all the time. I love my Switch. But every part of me knows, number one, it's very ancient technology. Like, it is well over 10 years old, or well, pretty close to 10 years old at this point. Number two, it's very limited. You're not going to want to play a lot of modern games on it because it does get very laggy. The frame rate's low, and oftentimes it even has issues connecting to TVs at full 1080p. Mine all the time will just drop down to 480 for no reason at all. So like, it's not a perfect system, but if you had your bets, you can come out of this pretty well off. Now, the other option is to buy a used one, and if you're only going to be playing it on TV, one thing I was looking at recently was finding one with a cracked screen and using it just as a standalone console. In fact, I was going to mod mine for our Pokemon channel and other things like that. Obviously, right now, I'm waiting to see what happens with the Switch market before I do that, because if I buy one right now at market value, by, January, February next year, if people started to realize this is coming to fruition, I paid $150 for a used system that's now worth $50, $60. So it's obviously not terribly wise to make that investment. Or just live vicariously through those of us that are playing it online, or find a friend who's got one that'll let you borrow it for a weekend. You can always buy the game, borrow the game, or buy the game, borrow the console. It's too bad Blockbusters don't exist anymore. You could rent the console, whatever. Options are out there, guys. Don't spend $400 to play one game. It's not a wise use of your money. But I am still stoked for the game. I'm really excited. Make sure you guys like, comment, share all that, and definitely comment. I want to hear you guys' feedback on this, because, when I heard somebody saying that they were buying a console just for a game, for one game, and we're at like the end of life of that console, I kind of choked up. I was like, nah, I don't want to be responsible for this person spending money this willy-nilly. I want to make sure that they go into this with every piece of material, every fact that they will need to succeed. So that's the whole reason I'm doing this. Make sure you guys like, comment, and share, and I'll be back with more soon.